But that January, Brattain decided he really wanted to work as a physicist, not a radio engineer. He figured the April meeting would be a good place to seek another job. And Tate would be there, too. As editor of the Physical Review, his old thesis advisors knew lots of physicists. Perhaps Tate could find him a suitable opening. Brattain had only to walk across the street to the Bureau's industrial building where part of the meeting was going on. There he found Tate in the corridor talking to a group of men, among them a short, stumpy, pugnacious physicist from Bell Labs named Joseph Becker, who had just given a paper. Introducing Brattain, Tate said to him, "By the way, I understand Becker's looking for a man." To which Walter replied, "Well, I'm looking for a job." Becker and Brattain shared lunch the next day. Afterward, they went for a walk in the park, where Becker bluntly told Brattain that he wanted a colleague who wasn't afraid to argue with him. Walter assured him that was no problem. He'd sure as hell talk back whenever he felt it necessary, which seemed to clinch matters. That evening they had dinner with Carl Darrow and Becker's supervisor, Clinton Davison, well known by then for his work on electron diffraction, at the new elegant Mayflower Hotel, Washington's finest, located on Connecticut Avenue a few blocks from the White House. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the huge banquet hall where they dined. "I was very awed," recalled Brattain. He spent a good part of the evening worrying about whether to offer Mrs. Darrow a cigarette when he lit up himself. He finally arrived at Bell Labs in New York on August 1st, 1929, ready to begin working with Becker. Brattain found the laboratory situated in an imposing 12-story brick and sandstone building at 463 West Street, between Bank and Bethune, just west of Greenwich Village. Its tall windows overlooked the wide, windswept Hudson River, where powerful tugboats steamed back and forth, hauling huge ocean liners and freighters, while ferries dodged past them carrying New Jersey workers to and from their jobs in throbbing Manhattan. A small-town farm boy at heart, Brattain was a bit overwhelmed by New York. While Wall Street stockbrokers swapped millions of shares downtown at an increasingly frantic pace, gaudy flappers and their escorts cavorted uptown in flashy Harlem speakeasies. The lights on Broadway burned brightly. Writers and intellectuals sipped coffee in village cafes near the labs, decrying the evils of unbridled capitalism and the bankrupt policy of rugged individualism promoted by President Herbert Hoover. To Brattain, New York City was a foreign country, completely foreign. At the time, Becker was studying the thermionic emission of electrons from metals, the topic of his Washington paper. This was an important element in Bell Lab's continuing research on vacuum tubes. Electrons flowing through a tube began their brief journey when they emerged from a red-hot surface of a metal filament, often made of tungsten. An electric current coursing through the filament supplied the heat energy needed to launch these electrons out of the metal's embrace. Becker and Brattain found ways to reduce the required energy boost, and thus enhance the flow of electrons, by treating the metal surfaces with various elements, cesium or thorium on tungsten, or oxide coatings on copper and nickel. Eventually they published 2 scientific papers on the topic. Bell Telephone Laboratories had grown up around the efforts of the American Telephone and Telegraph Company to develop vacuum tubes into effective amplifiers for long-distance telephone communications. Alexander Graham Bell's original patents on his inventions expired in 1893-1894. By the turn of the century, the telephone Goliath found itself competing with thousands of tiny local Davids. In 1909, its swashbuckling new president, Theodore N. Vail, committed AT&T to building transcontinental telephone lines as a key effort in his overall goal of establishing one policy, one system, and universal service. He made this commitment with unbridled optimism, believing that any technical problems could be easily overcome by his men, but he unfortunately underestimated one roadblock. Through a variety of gimmicks, the Bell system had been able to transmit telephone calls over 1,000 miles by 1900, Beyond 2,000 miles, however, the feeble voices drowned in a sea of static.